Le Mans Ultimate is out. Well, sorta. Motorsport Games and Studio 397 decided to release it as an early access title. So essentially, you're paying to be a beta tester. And just like any early access title, your job's going to be getting around the bugs while trying to enjoy the title. So kind of think of it as ACC in the same way it was released back in the day. So what did I think of Le Mans Ultimate? And should you even buy it? Stay tuned. So I'm going to flip the script and let you know what I'm thinking here in the beginning instead of waiting till the end of the video. Bear in mind, when this video comes out, LMU is still in early access. So what did I think? I've really been enjoying LMU in the week that I've been driving it. It does still need some work, but the developers have really laid a solid foundation to begin with. You are going to encounter bugs, and sometimes even more bugs, but they're actively trying to fix them as fast as they can, and they're really listening to community feedback. Now comes the question, should you buy it? That's really a loaded question. If you're a big fan of rFactor 2 or WEC, then I think this is a must buy for you. But if you don't want to deal with bugs, don't like multiplayer, and just want a good single player experience, then I suggest holding off for a few months as they polish some things out and release more features. But I do want to state though, this title is being sold at a discount right now while it's still in early access. Once it goes full release, the price will go up, so you could just buy it now and wait to try it later. Here we are on the main screen. Now we have the option to adjust our settings, race online, or have a race weekend offline. Now, Le Mans Ultimate is based on the FIA-sanctioned World Endurance Championship Series, and the current track and car roster right now in the game contains the entire 2023 season. So for tracks, you're going to have Sebring, Monza, Portimao, Spa-Francorchamps, Circuit de la Sarthe, Fuji, and Bahrain. As for cars, we have three classes. We have the hypercars with the Ferrari, Cadillac, Peugeot, Glickenhaus, Toyota, Van der Waal, and Porsche. For the LMP2 class, we have the Oreca 07. And for the GTE AM class, we have the Ferrari 488, the Porsche RSR, the Corvette, and the Aston Martin. And all these cars mentioned, you do get a choice of liveries from the 2023 season. Even though we do have a complete 2023 roster, MSG has stated that we will see the 2024 roster and potentially other cars and tracks from past WEC seasons. So in the settings menu, you can adjust the gameplay, the type of assists, and the look in-game. Then in the graphics menu, you can adjust the quality of graphics. At the moment, they do recommend running everything at high and not ultra because of some of the bugs in game. So if you want to run everything on ultra, be warned, crashes can happen. Again, you're just a beta tester in an early access title. And I did find that if you have special effects set to high, that could cause some stuttering in the games. So make sure you turn it down to low. And I think that's really because of the sparks that come off the cars that's causing it, but I'm not entirely sure. And right now, LMU does not have VR support, but it is coming in future updates. But there are VR hacks out there if you search for it. There is one thing that bothers me, and that is they do have triple screen support, but not all the settings are in game. To adjust everything, you do have to go into the DX11 config file and manually adjust everything there. Or, since this is rFactor 2.5, you can just copy your rFactor 2 config file into the folder and it's going to work right away. You can also map all your buttons and calibrate everything. But my big nitpick here is I wish you could input your values or have a slider and not have to constantly keep clicking the arrow to raise or lower values, because the menu can be quite laggy at times. In Race Weekend, like most sim titles, here's where you can start setting up your sessions, from the length, track conditions, race format, and what cars you want to race in. And once you're in a session, the laggy menus do creep back, but once you're driving the game, it handles beautifully. I did find the stock setups to be a bit of a handful, and for me in this day of age, having undrivable stock setups is really unforgivable. At least do something like ACC where you can have a safe setup or a fast and a wet setup option, because this is really going to help the people that haven't really gotten too much into sim racing really be able to get in, drive, and just jump in and enjoy themselves. You do also have to bear in mind in WC they don't use tire blankets, so when you go out on track first, the tires are going to be cold, so it's going to take a lap or two for the tires to warm up properly and get that optimal grip before you can really start pushing. And here's where I think this is the game's weak spot. The AI is kind of terrible, especially if you're driving a slower car. Many times I found myself being punted by the hypercars in the corners when I'm driving a GTE car. They don't seem to know where other cars are on track and just steam through sometimes. And they don't like to give an inch in side-by-side battle, and you often end up banging into each other. In online mode, this is where I think this is the game's true bread and butter. Right now, there's not really any options for hosted sessions. Again, early access, but that feature is coming in future updates. But for right now, you can join LMU's competition system, just like with R Factor 2. You have daily races, weekly races, and special events. And you're going to start off with a beginner license, and you're going to need to drive in the beginner system to build up your driver rating and safety rating, just like you would in iRacing or LFM. And then from there, once you upgrade, then you can go on to the intermediate races and even the higher races. I do like this option because it does help focus drivers on their driving skills rather than chasing after results. I'm looking at you, the Hot Lap heroes. The fixed setups here are much better than in single player mode. They're really good for the hypercars and the GTE cars, but I found them a bit lacking with the LMP2s in my experience. In the LMP2s, it tends to understeer a bit under braking and in cornering, while oversteering on throttle, but that's something you can adjust your driving style to because everybody's using that same exact setup in the fixed races. And you also have the option to join practice sessions or even register for races while you're waiting. For the sounds, I found the sounds on the hypercar and the LMP2 to be really great, and I think they stand out the best in the hypercars with the engines, turbos, and electric stuff that are kicking in. But I did find them to be a bit lacking when it comes to the GTEs. They seem a bit muted in the car and kind of lack any depth. For the graphics, there are still some bugs to be fixed. Sometimes the HUD can get squished and the frame rate can drop, but I did notice it gets better the more you are in a session, and I think that is down to the shaders being loaded in game. But the game looks great, and the colors are just the right amount of saturation for me. They don't look dull or cartoony, and not even any distracting because it gives you a really nice, realistic visual, enhancing that immersion of being in the race. Now overall, I won't beat around the bush here. This is an R Factor 2 reskin, but with better graphics. It drives like R Factor 2, but that's a really good thing. R Factor 2 has been praised for having a great physics engine with great force feedback. And with everything Studio 397 has given us with this new title, it shows a lot of promise to be taken even further and enhanced. And like I said, I've been having a lot of fun with this title. The cars here are more forgiving to drive, and you can easily correct a slide or even exploit it to an extent. My R Factor 2 guys really know this really well, and you can actually get on the brakes and know when you hit the limit and know when you need to back off. The force feedback for me has been great, and I'm using a SimiCube 1, but I have heard from others that it can be different from wheelbase to wheelbase, and your mileage is going to vary. But for me, I've been really happy with the force feedback, and once set up correctly, and this might take some time, LMU does a great job at communicating what the car is doing. You can really feel the front, the rears, and the brakes, and what all of them are doing as you're driving the car, making you feel more engaged in what's going on, making this title feeling more lively once you're inside of it. I did find there to be a bit of a BOP issue with the cars, and they're not all equally as fast overall. So if you want to race competitively, there are some cars to steer away from. But generally, if you just want to have fun, all the cars have a very distinct driving behavior. And for me, my favorite car overall wasn't the hypercar or the LMP2, it was the Ferrari 488 GTE. And in the fixed races, this car feels and drives excellent. It's very balanced and very quick. What are my final thoughts on this? Like I told you in the very beginning, I've really been enjoying this title, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for it. And with this price, you get 6 tracks, 12 cars. That's equivalent to 2 tracks and a car on iRacing. And if you're a fan of R Factor 2 or WEC racing, then I think this title is a no-brainer to get. If you're not either of those or still on the fence with it, I'd say hold off for a little bit and see how the updates progress this game even further. But be warned again, it's once it comes out of early access, the price is going to go up. I'm really cautiously optimistic that this title is going to get better and better as the developers make progress. And so far, they've been really communicative with the community through their Discord. There are quite a bit of features still missing, like career mode, VR, true triple screen support, better menu navigation and adjustments, along with the option to have custom liveries. But I do believe this is all being worked on along with all the bug fixes. So guys, let me know what you think. How has your experience been in The Sim? Let me know in the comments down below, and as always, if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new content. And until next time guys, have fun racing. Later.